chatting with Matt Barnes, aka Barnesy, lives in England and was able to attend Money in the Bank of the premium live event. And I'm here going to just pick his brain for a few minutes and just get his feedback and just reactions and the energy that it was. So I'm just going to turn it over to you, but I'd like you to comment first off of just talk about the experience that was Money in the Bank.
Yeah, it was an incredible show. Um, it feels like a pay-per-view like that's been a long time coming for the UK fans. And when John Cena come out, and he started, really egging us on about maybe getting a WrestleMania in the future, um, the roof nearly come off the O2 Arena. It was an incredible atmosphere. And yeah, just the whole show. It had lots of surprises. It had very unpredictable outcomes in some of the matches. And then the main event was just off the scale. The crowd interruptions with all the chants towards Roman, just his in-ring reaction to some of the chants. There was like a stand-up if you hate Roman, so he obviously sat down on the ring. I've not actually watched it back yet, so it'd be interesting to see how it comes across on the TV rather than what your own reaction was being in the arena. But yeah, just an incredible event. And the wheels are already in motion now. It seems like to try and get a WrestleMania in London. Obviously, we know next year's already planned, but in the very near future. In my opinion, I don't think it'll be a WrestleMania. I think it's more likely to be a SummerSlam to start or another pay-per-view like that because the weather in the UK is not the best. Stadiums in the UK, you probably have to go back to Cardiff to have a closed roof. So you're talking where the Clash at the Castle event was. Yeah, we've got Wembley Stadium, we've got amazing stadiums, but none of them have roofs. And I think that would be a major concern for Triple H, the hierarchy of WWE.
Either Tottenham or Wembley, neither one of them have a closed roof.
No, they have roofs that cover the seats in the stands, but they don't actually close.
What's it like there in late March, early April in London?
Oh, it. I mean, on a good day, you might get no rain, but I'd say the majority of the time there's high risk of rain. The weather here doesn't really start picking up until the end of May, beginning of June, really, for the summer, and then it's sort of a short summer. We're not as blessed as the Americans with the weather, I'd say. Um, but yeah, I mean, these are all factors they've got to take into consideration when they're obviously going to be booking an event. But I've already seen that Money in the Bank was the highest grossing arena show of all time in WWE. So yeah, I mean, the Clash of the Castle was a big success that drew huge numbers again. I went to the merchandise stand at Money in the Bank, and every shirt was sold out. There was, I mean, you were just trying to grab the last couple of bits that were on sale. It was proper fever pitch. Everyone wanted just a piece of something that they could take home. So,
And I know you said you haven't watched the replay, but you were there. For me, the two biggest pops of the night were when Cena teased Mania, but then also when the Usos both kicked out of Roman's double cover. What, in your opinion, was the loudest pop of the night, or was one of those it?
yeah, both of them too. If you asked me to pick a pop of the night, would be the two that I would definitely think of. I think Cena slightly edged it, just because it was when his music hit in the arena, everyone was sort of just looking around, thinking, "Is this an advert being played?" Or, and then all of a sudden, he obviously appeared, and it was like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" And then just the way he started setting up the promo, you're like, "He's going to announce something here. He's going to announce something. He's not come here for a fight," because the audience started going, "One more match, one more match." And I think, as he alluded to in his comments, he was saying, "I usually get Cena sucks," and it was like the whole crowd just started singing his theme tune, which was actually quite refreshing. I didn't sort of expect that reaction, to be honest. But yeah, that pop when he said about WrestleMania was crazy. And then yeah, the kick out where Roman stacked the Usos and they kicked out. I don't think anyone expected that either. And then also, I don't think anyone actually expected the Usos to get the win. Now, again, like I said, I've not seen the rerun yet, but the Usos were in the ring celebrating that victory for about 15 minutes after the match. There was just an atmosphere going absolutely crazy. They played their theme tune 6 or 7 times back to back on a loop, and they were just loving the atmosphere. They were literally going crazy. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see at what point they cut off, because they'd done about 6 laps of the ring. They were jumping in the crowd. It was just like, yeah, I think they were just soaking up the atmosphere after an unbelievable match.
That's amazing. I think you've already answered this one, but I am curious. We, I guess, have our who our top storylines are and who our followers are. Either you specifically or the crowd, who are they most behind, and what match do you feel that they? I mean, obviously Roman's probably part of the answer, but is there some other superstars there that might not be as high up on the hierarchy scale that the crowd was really behind, or at least you personally were really behind?
Yeah, so in the men's Money in the Bank match, the first match, everyone wanted LA Knight. I mean,
Yes.
usually when you go to the arenas, you get a lot of like wooing, like Ric Flair or Charlotte Flair, but everyone was just going LA Knight, and then it was just the yeah, yeah. That's all you heard all night. Yeah, yeah. And then there was like I don't know if you remember from the ECW event in 2006. It was like, if Cena wins, we riot, when he fought Rob Van Dam, and there was a few signs like that with if LA Knight doesn't win the Money in the Bank, then there was going to be some riots. Um, and I suppose what Cena was alluding to with his comments about they're not sure the hierarchy of the UK fans taking over the show. That was certainly an incident where it felt like if LA Knight didn't win, there was going to be trouble. But yeah, it was really good. I think the way it ended, because they got LA Knight to the point where it looked like he could win. And then, in my personal opinion, I think it was good that Priest actually did win for the storyline that's going to come. So I wanted LA Knight, obviously, but I think that going with Priest is actually quite a sensible move.
We're going to divert because you're hitting on something I was going to get to in a couple minutes. I think LA Knight not winning was the best thing for him. I know it's not going to happen, but patience is a virtue, is what and good things come with what people wait. What Triple H said during the press conference
Yeah,
afterwards. I think he's right now the front runner to win the Royal Rumble, even though I already know he's not.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I also heard that comment from Triple H, and sometimes you feel like it's hard to agree with that, in my opinion, actually. I think that why the iron's hot, you've got to strike sometimes, and the crowd are so far behind him
And I
that,
do agree with that assessment as well, though.
yeah, because we've seen it with superstars before, and if they don't get that chance at that point, sometimes it just never comes back, the opportunity. So it'd be interesting how and things develop with LA Knight. I did see some rumors actually that he might look to leave WWE, but um, yeah, it feels like he's not really started as of yet. He had the feud with Bray Wyatt, and it felt like Wyatt was going to be the one that really kicked on from it, but it's actually roles reversed, and it's LA Knight that's gaining some momentum. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting program for him coming up to see what how he's going to develop actually.
The whole lead up to it and just the atmosphere throughout, if I can use the word campus, was could you feel the energy in the air, and what was the sense going on just an hour before the show started, 2 hours before the show started? Was it just electric mayhem already?
Yeah, I mean it was crazy just from the Friday night actually, because we had SmackDown in the same arena, um, and yeah, there was the atmosphere for LA Knight when he come out on the show was probably bigger than what he got at the pay per view. I think it was just because it was obviously the first time we were seeing him, and it felt like in his promo with Logan Paul actually that he was a bit taken back by it. I don't think he. I think he probably could have predicted that he was going to be quite face and that people were going to be supporting him, but the arena, yeah, the roof nearly come off the arena when his music hit. Um, and then as well, he had a dark match after SmackDown finished against Rey Mysterio, and he's probably the only person I've ever heard to get Rey Mysterio booked. Like people were booing Rey Mysterio because they were so in favor of LA Knight.
Wow.
It was pretty crazy actually. Yeah,
That that's yeah, you're right. Ray doesn't get booed.
no,
Let's let's go future storylines or current storylines now. Are you up to speed on what's happened since afterwards?
yeah. I've seen the Raw episode. Yeah,
So Are you in the same mindset that Finn Balor is on his way out of Judgment Day, or do you think they're going to implode Judgment Day? What do you think is going to happen with Judgment Day in general?
Yeah, I think like I said, with Priest winning, I think that's added quite a good dynamic to the Judgment Day. I absolutely love Finn Balor, and since NXT, I've loved Damian Priest as well. So I think they're almost on a collision course now, to be fighting at some point. Obviously, the story with him winning the Money in the Bank and then trying to cash in later in the night, or at least look like he was going to when he come down during the Rawlins Balor match, was one dynamic in himself. Then it looked like he cost Balor by jumping out the chair and him missing the coup de grace, getting the stomp, and obviously Rawlins retaining. And then yeah, on Raw again, some more combustible sort of face to face. So yeah, I think that SummerSlam's a long way away yet, but they've got enough time to potentially have a build for that and get them to fight. I
I
think
think I think so
I think
too.
it'd be quite good actually if Priest become the leader of the Judgment Day now.
I think those two are going to implode. The Judgment Day is going to stay on, and then Finn's going to go his own route. And I hope they bring in a new fourth member. And if Damien's the leader, or if even Rhea's the leader, then I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
Let's one more huge pop, I assume, that happened. And you talked about striking when the iron's hot. Well, he was striking when there was no iron and no heat, because getting us through that whole COVID period was Drew McIntyre. And I felt like he peaked at the worst time as far as like the audience goes. And now he's finally in a real storyline. Hopefully he's re-signed. I don't know what they're going to do with him. They better give him something. What's your take on the whole Drew McIntyre returning and just coming back situation?
yeah. I mean, like you say, you touched on it there. He's the most unluckiest guy with the time that he got to the top, because he sort of won the Royal Rumble in that amazing arena, and then he's winning the belt at Mania in the Performance Center. And then it looked like for all the world a couple of years later he was going to beat Lashley at WrestleMania, and it was like almost the biggest swerve of all time when he actually retained the belt, Lashley. So yeah, I saw some quite strong rumors of Drew McIntyre leaving WWE and not even bothering to come back. So the fact that he did return, it was a massive pop, because he's obviously he's from Scotland, but obviously he's still part of the United Kingdom. So
UK umbrella.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, big pop when he come out, and yeah, we saw at Clash of the Castle when it was Sheamus, Gunther, and McIntyre that they can put on an absolute brilliant match. So it looks like Gunther McIntyre at SummerSlam, and yeah, I think that'll be a great match, and yeah, hopefully he's going to get at some point a pop at winning a big championship again. But the problem is here, Gunther's European as well, and although he's not from England, we absolutely love Gunther.
That was my next
And if
question.
yeah,
We're starting to be big on Imperium, especially Gunther. Uh,
yeah,
is he getting love over there?
yeah, I mean he's actually been a like for a long time over here, and I think the one thing, because he was actually UK champion for 2 or 3 years,
Right.
he had such a great role when he was on on the UK show, and and I think the only thing with Gunther that the UK fans are not liking as much is that he's actually got into such good shape now. We actually liked it when he was a bit more intimidating as a bit of a larger guy.
Yeah.
Um, not to take anything away from now, we think he's absolutely amazing. And I think if anyone here had to put money on a Royal Rumble winner, he would be. I think it's either going to be him or Jey Uso, in my opinion, for the Rumble. Because I think it depends if they wanted Jey Uso to win the Rumble and dethrone Roman at WrestleMania. That's a way they could go, or they could have Gunther win and fight for the other title.
So you don't think that they're going to let Cody re-win the Rumble and have Cody versus Roman 2.0?
I hope not. I hope not. I
I'm
mean,
I'm right there with you.
yeah, we were actually not really wanting Cody to win the Royal Rumble this year. I think if that was the path that was going to happen before the injury, that would have been fine. But we're not ever big fans of returns from injuries just before the Royal Rumble for WrestleMania season. We like it when someone's worked all year, um, you know, built momentum, and
And
then
earns it.
go on and win the Rumble.
And earns it. Yes. I
Yeah.
fully agree. I fully
So
agree.
we would have preferred Cody not to have won the Rumble last year, built up again this year, and then won it this coming year, and that for us would have been better. But yeah, he's like one of these wrestlers that sort of is getting thrown down your throat a little bit at the moment from a UK perspective. Cody Rhodes, a bit like what Roman was 5-6 years ago, where they really want him to do well, but it's just like, don't force it, let it happen naturally. And now look at Roman Reigns. Everyone in the UK absolutely loves this Roman. He's turned himself into an absolute monster.
When do you think Roman finally drops the belt, or does he ever?
It feels like he's never going to lose, but
No.
it's the first time that he's been pinned for 3.5 years at Money in the Bank. So the vulnerability's now been put in. I see they're doing a tribal court of Roman Reigns on SmackDown, which I'm sure is going to heavily feature the Usos, potentially Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. So I think it'd be silly if they dropped it soon. I think he can build up momentum again, and then I think he's going to have to drop it at a WrestleMania or another big pay-per-view. I think to drop it on like an episode of SmackDown or a lesser premium live event would be a bit silly now.
Because he just got pinned, I don't think he's going to drop it to Jay at SummerSlam, even though that's what I'm heavily rooting for. So then the next one to me pushes it to Survivor Series. If he doesn't drop it by Survivor Series, he's not going to drop it at Royal Rumble, and then we're back at Mania. And if he hasn't dropped it by Mania, I do think that ultimately, whoever he's up against, he'll drop it at Mania. I mean, I don't know how much you read about this stuff, but it sounds like he wants time off.
Yeah,
So eventually they're going to have to give it to him.
He's not quite part-time yet, is he? But he certainly does take a few days off. I know, like we're saying, and the natural sort of progression in the storyline is to fight Jay at SummerSlam. But again, I would hold off that as long as you can. I'd try and chuck someone else in to
Put
get
Jimmy
to Mania.
first. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Don't put Jay in straight away because we know he's, like you say, the chances are he's probably not going to win. And I think now you want to keep it hot, keep main event Jey Uso away from Roman if you can until Mania. That's the angle I would try and go with, because at Survivor Series, for example, I know we're talking about pay-per-views a long time in advance, but at Survivor Series over the last few years they've done champion versus champion, not necessarily for one of the belts. So if it was Rollins against Reigns as we currently stand, I think they would probably put Reigns over Rollins just to keep the momentum going, even though it wouldn't be for a title. So, yeah, if they can keep Jay out the SummerSlam main event, I would say, but it's looking likely that's the way they're going to go.
Yeah, it's too bad because, like you said, they could put Solo versus Jay, have Jay go over, and just work his way up the ladder, and then maybe having Survivor Series. I mean, Survivor Series used to be one of the big four, and now I think it's below Money in the Bank personally. So they need to find a way to get it back up, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they've hinted as well. It looks like that they're going to break Solo away from Reigns at some point too, with the way that he was looking at Roman when he was demanding the tag in the match. But yeah, I quite like the idea you had. Have Jay versus Solo at SummerSlam, and then you could have Roman in the corner trying to tell Solo what to do, and then obviously Solo could turn on him in the match, but then still lose to Jay, and then you could have Solo versus Roman at the next pay-per-view, and then you can just build it, and then eventually Jay will get his shot, and then hopefully he'll dethrone him.
It's like we should write this stuff. Come on, Paul, listen in. Paul, I know you're watching. Is there any other main storylines that you're following that you really you're sinking your teeth in?
No, I did just see actually that Io Sky, even after a few days of winning the women's Money in the Bank, is now the second longest holder of the what do we call it, the
briefcase?
The briefcase.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, she's the second longest now. I think Carmella was the longest one who held it for a long time. But yeah, I think they've had seven Money in the Bank winners so far, haven't they? And they've all cashed in and won.
Like same day or the next night.
Yeah, I mean, Liv won it last year, didn't she? And cashed in on Ronda.
Same
Alexa
night.
Bliss. Yeah, Alexa Bliss won it and cashed in the same night. I think there's been a few women that have done that. So
and then Nikki cashed it in on Raw when she won it.
Yeah,
the very first Raw. God, I would have never realized that.
Yeah.
That's a streak I
So
would have
again,
never realized.
it's quite good as well because I like the dynamic within the Judgment Day that Priest has now got the briefcase, and it's sort of the same with Damage Control. I know it's a bit unfortunate that one of them's injured, but just the whole Bailey dynamic and the way that match ended, I thought was absolutely genius. The
Brilliant.
the the handcuffs across, then
Hmm.
obviously walking above Bailey. It was just picturesque ending,
Very
and
symbolic as well.
yeah, so happy that EO won. I think it's great. Like both these guys come from NXT. They've paid their dues down there. They've got called up to the main roster, waited their time, and then they get rewarded. And yeah, I'm like it was an amazing show. And then you got the winners that you wanted as well. Like Priest probably wasn't the favourite to win, but like I said, I think it's so sensible that he's won. Io, on the other hand, everyone wanted to win, so when she won, it was a great pop. But yeah, just an absolutely brilliant card, to be honest with you. It was more than we ever thought we were going to get, and it was the feeling that we wanted to leave Clash at the Castle with. So
But
it
never
was
got that. Yeah.
a couple of days after Money in the Bank, you're still like, oh my god, did that really happen? It was so good.
We've been talking for 20 minutes now, and we haven't brought up Seth Rollins yet. Isn't that crazy that he's as popular as he is, as hot as he is? There's really not a storyline he's involved in. And so his storyline status gets knocked down a notch. And I'm just have a hard time fathoming that.
Yeah, I mean, pops of the night when his music hit and he comes out. Obviously, everyone's singing his songs for 5-10 minutes into the match, and then um, yeah, he just gets the crowd going. He's just an amazing wrestler. The only criticism I had actually of the card was probably this match should have gone on 5-10 minutes longer. It
Yep.
was actually quite short, or it felt short when we were there. Um, and just because of how good they both are, you wanted a little bit longer. But the way it ended, I mean, Finn's entrance was incredible. Just the way he come out with a mask on, and yeah,
Do you
he's
do, do you guys grade each match or anything, or rate each match or anything like that?
no, not really. I
So you
mean,
haven't reached our level of patheticness, is what you're saying.
yeah, no, we don't. I mean, I could probably just tell you what I thought of each match
we
now off the cuff, but
Well, the reason what I'm getting at is we rate each match, me and my buddy, and the one match we didn't give the highest score to was Finn and Seth Rollins because we just expected the highest amount of results from them. And I want to say dirty finish, but a stage finish. And like you said, it felt shortened. And that's the only match we didn't give it the highest score to in the entire PLE. What was Rollins and Finn, and it was for reasons above their control.
yeah, I mean the Cody and Dom match, it it was okay. It served the purpose, and they got the most out of it that they could. Obviously, Rhea was heavily involved with some of the interactions to try and distract Cody, and Dom's just the hottest heel in the business at the moment.
It's crazy how much heat he gets.
Yeah, he's getting so much heat, isn't it? It's one of them cool things that when you go to an event now, and it's just like, how long can we boo Dom for? How long can we make it so that he doesn't speak? Or um, so yeah, it's just you want to be involved in that, I suppose. But in terms of his wrestling ability, I still don't really rate him that highly yet.
And
His 619's got to be one of the slowest things in the world, hasn't it?
you and I feel the identical towards him. He gets so much heat, but it's like watching it in like practice mode.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but the relationship that he's got with Rhea is amazing, and obviously we absolutely love Rhea Ripley. It was a shame that she wasn't wrestling on the card, to be honest.
We've been talking with Matt Barnes, aka Barnesy, and make sure you hit subscribe. Comment below of your thoughts if you were there in person, or just your take of Money in the Bank and the storyline goes forward and your reaction. So like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.